Hello everybody, I am going to tell you the 5 secrets that you must know for a low conflict divorce. Today I'm excited to share with you the 5 secrets that everyone wishes they knew before they started their divorce. It's the little known strategies to manage conflict so it does not dominate your divorce. And I'm going to show you as well what my team and I can do to help you in this process. Who is this masterclass for? Well, obviously you are here, and also anyone thinking about divorce but feeling overwhelmed and not knowing what they will face. It's for anyone who knows divorce is in the horizon and wants to be prepared, but they don't want to spend thousands on lawyers' fees. And it's for anyone whose partner has asked for a divorce and they're feeling lost and confused. Who am I? Well, I am Olga Nadal. Don't know how you found me, but my resume says that I am a divorce coach and educator who is on a mission to ensure that you are supported during this challenging transition. I went through my own divorce and I understood that nobody teaches us how to divorce. And that is why most divorces get out of hand and turn pretty nasty. The main secret I found to a divorce that does not spiral out of control and into conflict is to be educated and supported. Those are the 2 main factors. Because a low conflict divorce doesn't happen by chance or because your partner will cooperate, not even because you have the most amazing lawyer. It happens because you have a well-designed strategy and you have the right professionals to help you implement it. I'll tell you a little bit about my story, and I have there the very concise version, which is that I was married for 15 years and we had a good relationship. Everything was, we're cruising along, but it got to a point where I started asking if I was still as in love as I was at the beginning of my marriage, and if we were really meant to be together for much longer. And I started the process of getting in touch with my intuition, and the answers began coming as in no, our relationship had ended, it was completed, and we needed to move on to a new relationship. And that's what we did. After going through a divorce that did not escalate into conflict, we managed to keep it as a low conflict divorce. I am now living the true version of happily ever after for me, and I live in Maui with my children, and my ex-husband lives right next door, so my children get to see each other. We have 50-50 custody. I spend 2 weeks with them, and then 2 weeks they spend with their dad. And the time that I'm not with them, I'm with my fiance, either in LA where he lives or we go traveling. And to me, this is the absolute best of all worlds. But it couldn't have been possible if I hadn't learned all the secrets and all the tricks to having a low conflict divorce. And now it is my mission. I made it my passion. This is my love project. I want to educate and I want to empower everybody that is going through a divorce to ensure that they have a low conflict divorce. Because that is the key to make sure that neither they or their children are traumatized, and then they can move on to live the life of their dreams, what I call to live your next great chapter. And in order to achieve this, you do not have to spend years and thousands of dollars in deciding what kind of divorce you're going to have, how to go through with it, and then implement it. There are shortcuts. There are shortcuts that I wish I had known at the beginning of the process, what I learned at the end. And this is something that you will hear from pretty much everybody who divorced, especially if they did it in the old school of divorcing, which is usually just being guided by a lawyer. And what I did is I put together the 5 secrets that I teach all my clients and students. And this is the foundation to start the divorce journey with the most likelihood of having a manageable, civilized, and even amicable ending to your marriage. So let's dive in. Secret number 1 is do not mix the emotions of divorce with the business of divorce. And I know this sounds a little bit like a long shot, but it is possible and it is necessary to remove the emotional component of divorce, because then it becomes more of a partnership dissolution. It becomes a business dissolution. And you have to set the foundation where divorce is not the place where you settle emotional debts with physical assets. And this takes mindset, this takes work to get to that foundation, but that will be the place from where you can build a divorce that does not get stuck in anger and litigation. So you have to find a safe place to deal with emotions of divorce outside of the lawyer's time. It gets really expensive and it gets really messy very quickly, and definitely outside of the family courts. I always say to my clients, there is no fairness, there is no full-on justice as you understand it in family courts. There is just an interpretation of the law that may mean that your emotional debts are not satisfied by the court. So be very careful before you dive right into that option. And I have not met a single person who faced the prospect of divorce and did not go through the emotions of divorce. It's almost like a set of emotions, and I call it the roller coaster of divorce. We pretty much all have to go through them. But we have to go on that roller coaster, understanding that no matter how scary, how emotional, how almost turbulent it gets, these emotions do not have the power to destroy us with a painful divorce unless you let them take control, unless you do not have the guidance of a coach or someone who is on your team saying, okay, this is what's coming next. Let's prepare for it. And what you are going to experience if you're going through divorce, and it's perfectly normal. I don't want anybody to feel like they are less off or they're going to get into this hole of emotions and they can't get out. All this is normal. You just have to learn the techniques and the tools to deal with them. But you will be going through a phase of despair and confusion that usually happens at the very beginning of the process, where you're asking, why is this happening to me? I mean, is this the end of our marriage? Is this just a bump on the road? What is going on? Is there anything else that we can do? Is there more therapy? Is there more date nights? What do we need to do? Can this be saved? Then we'll probably move on to overwhelm, where you start thinking, okay, if we're going the route of divorce, where do I even start? I mean, divorce is such a taboo, such a stigma, that we don't really talk about it. We don't have a place where we can go and learn about it. We start getting worried about, how am I going to have the conversation with my children? How am I going to tell my relatives? How am I going to tell my friends? And you feel like there is no help. You start asking, like, who can help me? This is just so overwhelming. I'm on my own. A lot of people go through denial because they just think that if they pretend that everything is okay, it will be okay. And they think that they can live in this denial for the rest of their lives. They try to justify the present situation by saying, our life is not so bad, maybe I shouldn't complicate things. They start looking at their spouse's behavior and say, well, he or she doesn't abuse me, is not an alcoholic, treats me fine, so why complicate things? That's just you trying to deny the reality of what's happening. You move into anger at one point or another, and some people get stuck in the angry phase. That's why you need somebody to help you move through it and keep you walking. You may get, depending on your divorce and depending on what the circumstances are, you may get very much into the space of, how can he or she do this to me? And put the blame on them. This is your fault and I don't deserve this and this is an outrage. And the anger energy can be utilized to move your divorce along, but on the other hand, it's very paradoxical. It can really get you stuck in a divorce that goes on forever and costs you a fortune. Another emotion, we put them together, we group them together, but when I work with my clients, I make a point of separating them because they are different emotions. They have a very low vibrational component, and they come very much with the perception of other people, judgment of us, but they're different. But I'm just, for the purposes of this webinar, I'm moving quickly. We're just gonna say they are on the same ballpark, and they are shame and guilt. And that's when we start going into, what are people going to say? How are people going to judge us? Could I have done more? Then we move into grief. Grief is an emotion that scares a lot of people because they have this preconceived idea that grief is going to swallow them up and they're going to fall into depression and they won't be able to come out of it. So very often we try to avoid it. We do our best to not fall into grief, but it's another necessary emotion. We have to walk through that fire and we have to grieve the dreams that we had, the idea of the family that is not going to happen, at least with that person. We can start creating new dreams, but first we have to put the previous ones to rest. And that's when we start wondering if we're ever going to love again because the sadness is just taking over and we worry that we're never going to get out of that depressive state. But again, it's an emotion that once we learn how to regulate and how to navigate those emotions, we will be able to move through them. And the biggest of all of the divorce emotions is fear. And fear actually underlines every single one of the other emotions that I have just mentioned. But it is the one that it's just so prevalent. You will feel it throughout the whole process. When you're in anger, when you're in shame, when you're in grief, when you're in denial, you will feel fear. And the fear is because we have been conditioned that certainty is safety. And uncertainty is very risky, it's very dangerous. This is a fallacy. There is no safety in certainty. And if our pandemic has proved anything, it's that there is just no certainty in repeating the same behaviors and that whatever is happening in the past is going to continue happening in the future. So it's very important that we get a hold of fear and we put fear where it has to be, which is in the back seat. It can be our passenger through this journey. But again, it's something that we usually need somebody to guide us through that process. Secret number 2 is that you do not need a lawyer. And when I say this to my clients, their eyes pop up and they go, what do you mean I don't need a lawyer? And I say, you don't. It's completely optional. But what I suggest is that you get a divorce team. Because the 3 options that you have is that you can do this entirely on your own and you can either use an online service. Nowadays, there are some fantastic services that they will even prepare the documentation for you for an additional fee. You can have a paralegal and they will run you through the process. But those are for the most simple type of divorces, the ones that there's absolutely no conflict. You guys have pretty much agreed on everything and then you just need to put it in paper or nowadays in an online registry. You can do it with a lawyer, and this is the option that people think is the one and only option. This is how it's usually been handled, but we are moving away from that. Or if you are staying with a lawyer, I always recommend that you get a collaborative lawyer. I'm going to talk more about this in a second. But you can also do it with a team, and this is what I advise, is that your team has a divorce coach, a lawyer, a divorce financial analyst, a mediator, and a therapist. And I know that your first instinct is to say, okay, that's going to cost me a fortune. But that is not true. In the majority of cases, it actually costs you less money and it saves you time. Because I equate this to, if you're going to build a house, would you use the architect as your plumber, your electrician, your roofer? That's going to cost you way more. And he's not going to do that much of a good job. So what you actually do is you give these specific tasks to the specific professionals. And what we found in the past is that we use the divorce lawyers as therapists, as coaches. You expect them to guide you through the process. That's not their job title. And the majority of them, they don't know how to do it. And yet they're going to bill you for all the time that you sit there trying to get a therapy session with them. So the same with being a financial analyst. Your lawyer cannot understand, the majority of lawyers cannot understand your financial situation, your budgeting, your financial forecast. But a professional financial analyst that specializes in divorce will do that in a matter of hours. So instead of spending 3 times the amount of money with your lawyer and getting a subpar result, go directly with the divorce financial analyst. And as a matter of fact, I work with a lot of lawyers that refer me clients because they explain to their clients, look, I can charge you $400 an hour and we're not going to get any resolution on the emotions of your divorce. Or I can direct you to Olga, and for half the amount, she's going to really tackle the emotions of divorce, and you're going to walk out of her sessions feeling relieved as opposed to feeling more upset and confused. So the thing that I strongly advise is that you get a divorce coach. And I know that this is a very new profession, so a lot of people are still confused, and it's going to take a while for people to give us a chance, but everybody that works with a divorce coach can tell you it just makes all the difference, because we educate you in the process, and we educate you in a way that you can understand, okay? We don't have the mumbo jumbo of the legal terms. We simplify that. We help you handling the emotions of divorce, which so often it's simply overlooked by lawyers, by the justice system, even by the mediators, and it needs to be handled because it can complicate the divorce to a degree that we don't even know until the emotions take over. And also, we're going to coach you to create the best strategy for you and your children, because like I said at the beginning, this is all about a strategy. You have options. You need to be guided into, okay, this is the smorgasbord of options. Which one is more appropriate for you? I also recommend that you work with a collaborative lawyer. And I say there are two ways, because that's something where a lot of people also feel like, oh my gosh, a lawyer is going to cost me so much. I've heard horror stories about really high retainers, and then on top of that, paying more. But you can either retain them for the whole process, and there are many, especially collaborative lawyers, that will not string the process along. They want you, it's in their best interest to move things along and make sure that you're getting the best deal for both parties. But if you're concerned about budgeting, you can consult with them at the beginning of the process. They will tell you your rights, and then you can work out the rest of the process with your divorce coach, your mediator, your financial analyst, and then come back to them and tell them, okay, these are the documents, these are the divorce settlement agreements. Are they all kosher? Is everything good? And then they will review them, and if they need to add some modifications so you are protected in the future, then they will do those suggestions, and then you can sign them. And then the divorce financial analyst, to me, it's so important, because one of the biggest building blocks of a good divorce is to be able to reach a financial agreement that both parties are satisfied with. And these financial analysts, they will give you the clear, neutral picture of, this is how much you guys have in assets and debts, this is how much you each need to leave, this is how I suggest that you work out the child alimony and support and the split of the assets. So they will also help you gather all the information that you need to create the financial settlement. And I know that one, especially for those partners who haven't been involved in the finances of the family, it's mind-boggling. But a financial analyst can just simplify the whole process. And then you will feel way more confident about your future, knowing that your finances are going to be taken care of. A mediator is someone that I recommend if you need help negotiating and communicating with your spouse. Very often we get to the divorce process and the two parties involved, they just cannot stand the other person. They cannot communicate. So then you need to have someone, and I usually recommend a family lawyer or someone who used to be a family law judge, because they are versed in the divorce process, to be your mediator. And last but not least will be a therapist. I recommend that if you feel like the emotional component, it's too overwhelming, it's too big, even for your divorce coach. Like, your divorce coach is going to help you move forward with emotions, but very often we have a lot of emotional baggage from the past, that for that a therapist will be your best call. And if you're used to working with a therapist, just continue with them. If not, you can find therapists that specialize in divorce as well. And to me, a very important part of the therapist's work is to ensure that your children are handling the divorce okay. And if you are in a high conflict divorce, it's very beneficial if they have at least a couple of sessions with a therapist, just to make sure that they are not being damaged. And this takes me to secret number 3. And it's that divorce does not traumatize children. It's conflict. The thing is that in the past, we've always correlated divorce with conflict. And it is true, that's how 95% of divorces used to be carried out. But society is changing, and there is this huge new paradigm where the majority of cases are being handled outside of the courtroom and are being handled by collaborative lawyers, mediators, divorce coaches, financial analysts. So the amount of conflict that is generated is kept to a minimum. And that's what you have to remember, that parental conflict that the kids witness, and sometimes, unfortunately, they are forced to participate in, is the problem, not divorce itself. And another reminder that I have to tell everybody that is so hurting because they think that their children are not going to love them anymore because they are getting a divorce is that your children, they want you to be happy. They do not want you to sacrifice your happiness for theirs. That is a kind of weight that they do not ask to carry for the rest of their lives. And children are more resilient than we think, and they do not have all these preconceived ideas that adults have about the negative effects of divorce. Very often when I coach my clients on how to have the conversations with their children, and I say to them, listen to what your children are saying about divorce, they are amazed to see that they are kind of like, okay, so that's the new normal? I'm going to have 2 houses? Okay, fine. It's not a big deal. It's us that create all this chaos around it and think, oh my gosh, they're going to hate us for this. And the majority of the time, they're okay. They just want to know if they're going to have a PlayStation in both houses. As ridiculous as that sounds, but that's often what the biggest concern is. Secret number 4 is you cannot divorce with a win-lose mindset. That's the old paradigm of divorce. That's the conventional approach. And it just doesn't work. That's why divorce, up until now, it's been such a painful and traumatizing experience because we approach it as a battle. We turn divorce into a lawsuit, and there has to be someone who wins and someone who loses. And that's how we get stuck in litigation because nobody wants to be the loser and everybody thinks that they're entitled to more than they really are. And we end up in litigation, our lawyers get very rich, the family court system keeps tagging along, and we just end up throwing the towel after having lost everything. I mean, I've heard cases of $500,000 spent in legal fees, 7 years. And they're exhausted, they're traumatized for life, and they didn't even get what they wanted in the end. So what I say is don't turn your divorce into a lawsuit. Turn your divorce into a dissolution, into something where both people will win. You just have to know what you can give because you don't have to take everything with you. And I see so many women, especially, which is who I work with, that gain more by asking for less, but the things that they really want and need, than just going for the I'm going to screw you. That never works. Long term, if there is a loser, that loser is gonna try to rebalance the scales, and it's gonna make your life so miserable that you will regret that win and you will end up paying them back in other ways. And if you have children, you have to think that you have a co-parenting relationship for pretty much the rest of your life. So you don't want to have to be in a constant lawsuit that never ends. So that's something to remember. And very often, the divorces that are handled by lawyers and end up in court, they're there, but they shouldn't be. They should be in the minority, and they should be only for high conflict situations. So just make sure that you go into divorce with the right mindset. Secret number 5 is do not leave anything to chance. You need a strategy. And having a successful divorce has nothing to do with luck, with your ex, especially like, oh, I have a great ex or a bad ex, or with your lawyer, oh, my lawyer is so expensive, I'm sure that I'm going to be okay. It has everything to do with the strategy. And no, hope is not a strategy, okay? Hoping that it's all going to work out, not a good strategy. What you can do instead is learn how to have the conversations with your partner that will not escalate into conflict. You can learn how to tell your children in a way that they'll understand and support the decision. And you can also learn your strategy on how to come out to the world about your divorce without shame or guilt. I'm going to throw another secret because you must know this one. If you remember anything from this presentation, I want you to be this, and it's that knowledge is power during divorce, and ignorance can cost you everything. through these 5 secrets that I share with you, you may have been like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. And whoa, that's an eye-opener. It's okay if you don't know any of this. Nobody knows. Nobody has classes. Well, up until now, I have a course now. But it's okay if you don't know. What you have to remember is that you owe it to yourself and your future and your children to learn how to. And there are ways, there are strategies to have a low conflict divorce. And that's why I created the one and only divorce resource you will need. I usually work with one-on-one clients. I've realized that's very expensive for a lot of people. It's something that can save you a lot of money, but if you're in the fear stage, you may feel like, look, I cannot do your hourly rate. So what I've done is I created a place. It's almost like the Netflix of divorce. It's the place where it's a membership where you can have all the information and all the support that you need in one place. And it's my Divorce for Love Society, which is a membership where you get exclusive access to my signature online course. My only course is 10 steps to a low conflict divorce. I sell it for $497 separately, but it's included in the membership. You also get weekly coaching calls, which again, my rate is upwards of $200, but you get them included in the membership. You also get expert classes with lawyers, mediators, coaches, financial advisors. Again, people that if you were to have one-on-one access, you will be paying anywhere between $250 and $600. They come, I interview them, I extract all their knowledge, and you have that just for the price of the membership. You also get worksheets to get organized, to get all your financial assets in place. You get checklists and printable guides, so you can, again, reduce the overwhelm, have the step-by-step guides on how to do divorce. You also have an amazing community. Our membership is growing every week, and all these people are going through the same thing that you're going. They're trying to have a low conflict divorce, and they support each other, which to me, it's major to have a tribe behind you. And I give you ongoing support before, during, and after divorce, because that's another thing that we often find the help for the during divorce, but there is a before and an after that needs to have a lot of tenderness and a lot of support and guidance and inspiration. And I make sure that you get all that within the membership. Plus, you also get more bonuses. And just the bonuses alone are worth over $1,000. I put so much love into creating 4 meditations that will calm your mind in the middle of the chaos. I created 4 yoga sequences. They're easy to follow. They're 20 minutes. They just get your body moving. I have 4 visualizations. They're so important. They're like the hypnosis that you need to sort of create a reality that you want for your divorce and for the after. I have journaling prompts. We do a lot of inner work where we work with our beliefs, and we do NLP reprogramming. And I've also created 4 rituals because I believe in manifestation, and I think that you can manifest the divorce that you want. So all of that is included. And we're offering all of this for $47 a month. Like I said, just the online course sells for $497. One-on-one coaching with me is $220. The experts on the group is more than $250 an hour. All the bonuses. I mean, just this alone makes a whole year of membership worth it. But I do this because of people like Carla, that they got the help that they needed to uncover the limiting beliefs, and they used the journaling, the meditations, and they cleared the beliefs, and they were able to go through their divorce and attract a new partner that was beyond their wildest dreams. And if you're still wondering if you can take the one step that can save you thousands of dollars and give you a conflict-free divorce, I want to ask you, can you afford going into the divorce process with a losing mentality after I explained to you how that's going to cost you so many thousands of dollars and so much time? You're going to waste time and money in lawyers, mediators, investigators, court fees. You will probably lose control of your divorce and have a judge make final decisions. And are you willing to ruin your chance for a successful co-parenting relationship that will last for the rest of your life? And can you afford having your children go through the trauma of a high conflict divorce? All this, it's how I don't want society to keep going in that direction. And I want to show you my gratitude for being here and already showing me that you don't want to follow that path. And I want you to have a no excuses attitude, okay? I want you to give this a try. So I am giving you access to the entire program for 7 days, completely for free. So you go in, you check out our Facebook group, you can watch all my past interviews with the experts, with all the lawyers, the mediators, the coaches. You get to see all my coaching calls where I answer everybody's questions. You get access to the online course, you get all the meditations, you get everything. 7 days. If you want to lock yourself up in a room and go through everything, you can do it. And it's free. It's my gift to you. If after that you feel like, whoa, this is incredible, and yes, it is the Netflix of my divorce and I need it while I'm going through this transformation, then you can just stay on the membership. I want you to join the rest of our community. I want you to connect in the Facebook group with the amazing community that is learning how to ask for what they want in the divorce and getting it. And I want you to benefit from all the discounts that I'm offering today. So we end the high conflict divorces. And from the moment that you sign up, like I said, you get full access to everything. The online course, past coaching calls, interviews, everything. So my ask here is that you take action right now. Right now. That's how we get out of confusion and overwhelm, is by taking action. And you get all the information and all the actionable strategies you need to get your dreams back. And it's all in my membership. I don't want you to let ignorance and fear hold you back from living the life that you were meant to live. And I want to provide you with a sisterhood that I have created in my membership, and it's going to support you and protect you during your divorce and after. So get started right now for free. And then if you want to continue, it's less than the cost of a night out. And I really think that you will be so happy that you did. And I really want to see you in my community. So if you want to learn more about the membership, you can go to divorceforlovesociety.com and find more information about it. But I just want you to give us a try. Come and join us. I make things fun, even in the midst of the chaos. And I'm so happy that you are taking action and moving on to your next great chapter. Thank you so much for being here today. Aloha.